Once upon a time, there was a young man who wanted to share his love of films, games, and entertainment with the world. But unfortunately, his YouTube channel and all his sites where his content could be located died. And all because people wouldn't go to patreon.com/evacstation to support his fine work. For less than the cost of being cursed in a world without this podcast, you can support our show and allow us to live on and on, even from beyond the grave. And that money goes to the hosting costs on podcast sites and allows us to make a better show. Again, that's patreon.com/evacstation. Enjoy the show.
You're all gonna die screaming. All we wanna do is eat your brains. We're not unreasonable. I mean, no one's gonna eat your eyes. All we wanna do is eat your brains.
The clock has struck midnight, and you know what that means. It's terror time again, and we'll be running this podcast all through the night for a terrifying sight. We've got hummus, and we know how to use it. I am Aaron Bobcock, and with me today I've got my co-ghost, Ryan Metters.
The best ghost, coast to coast. How you guys doing?
Good stuff, good stuff. So, before we get started, let everyone remind everybody, you can find us on various platforms of choice, including Patreon, YouTube, Peepa, iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, TuneIn, and Podcast Addict. You can also find us on various social media platforms in case you want to reach out to us. That's on Tumblr, Twitter, or Facebook. Drop a comment, share our stuff, and likes and reviews always help us get more views. And if you want to reach out to us directly with requests, questions, or if you just want to, I don't know, say something silly that we'll read out aloud, you can always go to our email. Ryan, what's that email?
That email is, they're not boobs, they're pectorals. Excuse me. That's evacstation@gmail.com.
A lot of good one-liners in this one. A lot of good ones. Before we get to our film of the week, which I'm sure most of you guessed by the title is Paranorman, we're going to get to our usual segment of What You Watchin'. Ryan, what have you been watching?
Well, I know that you have been playing Bloodborne,
I have.
and that actually inspired me to go back and take a look at it because it's such a great game. But better yet, I rediscovered a Twitch streamer that I love. His handle is Jesus Here's Toast. And he actually speedruns Bloodborne. I remember finding him right after I had beaten the game for the first time, and the mockery that he makes of this game, it's amazing and frustrating at the same time, but he's such an interesting and charismatic dude that, like, the bitterness of, like, the hundreds of hours that I spent trying to play this game, it just washes away because he's having a grand old time and he really loves the game. So if you, like, I would recommend you wait till you finish the game.
Right.
But once you do, I will, like, let me know. I will send you the YouTube video, and he beats Gascoigne in, like, 2 minutes. First time. And I'm like, what the fuck is your problem?
I mean, I haven't watched them all entirely, but I have seen some people who play. There was one streamer who I was hearing about who played through all of the Soulsborne games without dying. Like, that was his goal. And he had to restart a couple different times, but I think he did it on his, like, 4th or 5th try. And I think he had to rearrange the order of the games he played in order to make it work, because I think he started Dark Souls 1, 2, 3, Bloodborne, then Demon Souls at the end. And he realized pretty quickly that Demon Souls at the end is a terrible idea, because that's the one he dies in the most.
Yeah, like, if you get all throughout the four games and then you die in Demon Souls, you have to start all the way up. Fuck that. I would...
So yeah, he shuffled that to the beginning real quick.
I would murder someone. Yeah, I would murder someone on that one. Oh my god.
And here's the funny thing, too. I first heard about it on his first attempt, I think is what it was. He died to the first boss of Demon Souls.
Ooh.
He was. I imagine he was pretty salty about that. I know I would fucking be salty about that.
Oh, dude! Like to get through on his first attempt to get through all 4 games and then die on the first boss of the last game, I'd be fucking livid. Be like, nope, I have to take a month away from these games because I'm about to lose my shit.
Mm-hmm. Hey, Cat. How you doing? Got a pod cat here. So I'll jump into my week real fast. I have 2 things I'm going to bring up. One is an actual thing I did, and then one's kind of like a home improvement thing that I'm really proud of.
Ooh.
So the first thing that I did, going off what you said, Bloodborne. I got further than that. So the last I left you off, I had beaten the spider, and I had actually. So I think I even told you I beat the one Reborn, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So from there, I ventured into the lecture halls. And that actually wasn't too bad. There was just a lot of enemies there, but there was no boss, so I was kind of like, okay, whatever.
Yeah,
so,
and the goopy scholars.
Yeah, those goopy scholars are weird. Like, they're not as bad as the phalanx in the older games, because, like, you can kill these guys pretty easily, but they'll gain up on you pretty quick.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not a bad area. I remember seeing it in a stream before, and I'm like, I don't remember anything about it. It's been so long since I've seen it that I was like, okay, something's gonna have to happen here, because I walked through the whole thing, there's no boss. And then I get to this door with the portal, I'm like, okay, is this the boss room? And it takes me to a whole other area, I'm like, I think I may have missed something. So I go back in, I explore the area again, find another set of doors, I'm like, let's open these and see where these go. It's a different area that it takes me to, so I'm like, oh, I've got a branching path here, fantastic. So, and then when I started exploring those areas, I got a little bit slapped around, so I'm like, you know what? Let's go back to those chalice dungeons I saw for a hot minute and just see if I can find anything good in there. So I've been kind of grinding away at those. They are not nearly as fun as anything else in the game by a long stretch.
Yeah.
But it's good level up fodder, and I'm kind of hoping to try to get to the end of them, because I think that's where you get like the beast claw, like fist kind of weapon. And I don't think I'm going to actually be proficient with the fist weapon, but just the fact that I have it's kind of fun.
Yeah.
And the other thing I did, so I recently did a pretty solid Amazon purchase, not for Prime Day by any means, because, well, you know, this was a week ago. So I bought a few things to help improve the various things in the basement, including some new command hooks for poster frames. I also got a longer, cable for my internet box. So now I can have it stretch a bit further. So right now it's like in the corner of my office, but the signal doesn't hit the whole house very well. And I know there's a few different like little gadgets you can get to kind of help fix that. But instead I opted for the longer cord because I'm going to have it be more center of the basement so I can reach the signal around the whole house. And then from there I might update it further, but that's kind of the game plan there. And the piece of resistance here, I have implemented a new Steam Link device setup. I think I may have mentioned this a little bit last time. Did I?
Yes, you did.
Yep, so I got the PS2 emulator running, and I've got, I did a few tests, so I got Dokapon Kingdom, for those who don't know, that's an Atlas game that's really fun, and then 2 other Atlas games, Persona 3 and 4 running, so I can now play those from the TV, and I'm working to get more of them down here in the next few weeks, so fun stuff.
Adventures of Adult Aaron.
Adventures of Adult Aaron / just being a tech weirdo. Fun stuff.
I have undertaken projects for my house to make it more gamer friendly.
Yeah. We also did some yard work the other week, but I think I may have mentioned that already in the previous episode. But gotta be doing more of that here soon. Gotta get rid of a couple of wasp nests, and I've got to clear out the backyard. We did the front yard. Now we have to do the backyard. A lot of house improvement stuff that we're gonna be working on, but slowly but surely.
Mm-hmm.
Speaking of I guess there's really no good transition here, because I was going to say speaking of improvements, but last week was Train to Busan, not really a step up, like a side shuffle maybe.
A lateral move.
Yeah.
A lateral move.
Tonight's Corpse Party will be chatting up the dead in Paranorman, released in 2012, written and directed by Chris Butler and co-directed by Sam Fell of Leica Studios. This film went on to make $107,139,000 worldwide, which is profit, but not double the cost by any means. It's not the big hitters we've been seeing this season so far. The film features the voice work of John Goodman, Alex Borstein, Bernard Hill, Elaine Stritch, this is her final film, may she rest in peace, Jeff Garlin, Leslie Mann, Christopher Mintz-Plasse, I think.
Plasse.
Okay. Casey Affleck, which surprised me when I saw the credits. Anna Kendrick, Tucker Albreezy, and hey, we just saw him in X-Men. Cody Smit-McPhee.
Is that
Nightcrawler? Yeah.
Nightcrawler? Oh my god! Paranorman.
I did not expect. When I picked Paranorman for this, I didn't expect there to be like a deep reference to older stuff, but we got a couple references to older episodes we've done in this episode here. It'll be great stuff.
Oh, that'll be good. I'm glad to hear that.
Mm-hmm. This film has won a total of 19 awards. This includes an EDA for Best Animated Feature, 2 Annie Awards for Character Design and Character Animation, and several regional critic circles have awarded it the Best Animated Feature of that year. I'm not going to list them all because there's way too goddamn many. But yeah, no, a lot of people love this film. It didn't get the Oscar win, but it did get the nomination, so it's certainly got a name for itself, even if it's not the most popular thing out there.
Definitely. And it's the acclamation that it received is well deserved, in my opinion.
I think you have some fun facts for us, Ryan.
I do indeed. 3 of them for you today. First and foremost of which, the story is set in the town of Blythe Hollow, whose name is a mashup of 2 other ghost stories. Noel Coward's Blythe Spirit and Washington Irving's The Legend of Sleepy Hollow. So shouts out to you guys if you caught it.
Noel Coward. What kind of name is that to be writing ghost stories?
He ain't no coward. I'm sorry. Next, anyway, animating the cheesy horror film that Norman is watching at the start of the movie was reportedly very difficult for filmmakers, as they had to intentionally make a bad film with bad camera angles, poor focus, bad acting, etc., while still working in the very technically demanding confines of stop-motion animation, which is honestly hilarious to me because I didn't think about how hard it would be to do a bad thing well, but they have to do that.
I mean, I imagine that for a lot of like the technical side of things, like the camera work, the sound engineers, and all that stuff, like the acting is easy to kind of botch, I think, on purpose. And I think
of course,
and you can write stuff to be bad on purpose too if you're aware of it. But to do the technical stuff bad and still have it look good and passable for the overall film, that is tricky shit.
Yeah, 100%. The technical design has to be sound enough that when you transition to your actual movie, it seems seamless, but it just is good. But at the same time, it has to mimic the tropes of really shitty horror movies. So it's like, I have to do this bad, but I also have to do it really, really good. And that's like looking left and right at the same time. So kudos for them. I hadn't thought about it, but actually that makes a lot of sense. I like that.
And then, clear that out of the way. My phone was going off there for a minute. So yeah, should we get some initial thoughts out of the way?
Absolutely. Do you want to go first?
Yeah. So I saw this film years ago, actually. It was on sale on the digital films for the PlayStation Store. Not a shill, just, letting you all know where I got it. I heard good things about it from my usual critics that I follow, and I'm like, you know what, I want to watch this one of these days. I like ghost stories, I like the stop-motion animation stuff. And eventually these guys would go on to do Kubo and the Two Strings, which is also damn good.
Oh, yes.
But this film, I always thought it was really fun, and I always had good things to say about it. I love the stop-motion style, and I think it was good then, and I think it holds up pretty well now.
Yeah, a similar way. Like, I didn't really. I saw it on DVD. I saw it on DVD originally, and it surprised me how grown up this movie was. I mean, it's definitely intended for kids, but it definitely skirts that line of kind of rude humor. But the subject matter is really poignant. And so it gets dark in places. But it handles it well, so it tackles a really tough subject with kids in mind, and I think they hold that balance really, really well. So I was impressed with it then, and it lived up to that standard the second time around. I just noticed more of the adult humor side of it this time,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah.
And the funny thing, too, is that it's hard to believe they could make a movie about the Salem witch trials, or at least the aftermath of them, and still have it be for kids. Like, that's not a subject I would expect kids to be able to, like, click with, but hey, they did it, and I think they did a pretty damn good job with it, so.
Yeah, I think they did it masterfully, actually. I mean, you start with the tough time that Norman is having, and you make that really, really relatable, and then you expand that out just a little bit to how people who say those things are just scared, and when they're scared, they can do dumb things, and then you're like, and Salem, and it's much larger and much more horrible, but it stems from the exact same place.
Mm-hmm.
And when you break it down like that, it's perfectly digestible for young minds. So I love the way they did that.
It's almost like Norman's a mutant, and maybe the world isn't ready for him, and they fear him, and so they want to be like, hey, you should register yourself as a mutant, and then wear this number, and then we will be tracking you all the time, Norman.
He's not that bad. He doesn't, like, teleport and, like, wreck people's shit with knives just yet.
True, but depending on the president, he might get put down south in one of those camps, and I'm a little worried for him.
No!
That's not a subject we should be making fun of, but, I mean, it's very on point.
Oh, ice are Nazis. Anyway, we have a synopsis here.
We do. Let's change the subject very quickly to that. In the small New England town in Massachusetts, we get introduced to Norman, who is straight from one of those Shyamalan movies we done did. Things coming full circle around here, folks. He speaks to spooks, and people spurn his special skills and specifically call him names on the spot. Until one day, his creepy uncle of some connection tells him the witch's curse is real and bad shit's about to go down. But as if channeling Joseph Campbell, Norman rejects this call to action and plays with his new friend, my child Neil. We talked about this during the movie, and Amanda and I agree, he is probably going to be our child.
Oh, God, Neil's the best. Neil, oh, God, that's the kid.
But Norman's uncle dies comically and visits him as a ghost in a public restroom, where his uncle probably met a lot of children. He exposits more details about the witch's curse and how Norman has to read the book at the grave of the witch before sundown, or shit will literally kick off. Racing away from his friend and the local bully, Norman goes to his uncle's house and pries the book from his cold, dead hands. It's a little gross and morbid, but for a kid's film, it kind of works. Just as Norman's about to read to the graves, his bully Alvin, the chipmunk, shows up and interrupts the story time. Because of this, our old enemy, the clouds, return and bring back the dead to life via the curse. Or at least they reanimate the bodies of the townspeople from when the witch was alive, which is like half a dozen people. They pursue Norman and Alvin, who are eventually joined by his sister Courtney, Neil, and Neil's brother Mitch. Realizing that the witch has not been buried with the rest of the townspeople, but instead in an unmarked grave, the Scooby Gang race to the town hall for some answers. Meanwhile, the zombies shuffle through town, panic ensues in the most hysterical of ways, and the zombies actually run from the absolutely bonkers people of the town. They get to town hall, where the alpha zombie speaks to Norman, explaining how the curse really happened, expresses their regret, and offers to guide Norman to the witch's grave himself. They eventually get there, and with the help of Norman's parents, who are slowly accepting of what he is clearly being a superhero. The final battle ensues, where Norman attempts to talk to the spirit of the witch down from her, little high horse angry spot there, and helps her spirit rest. The magic happens, and until Norman gets her to remember happier memories and lets go of her hate. The zombies also return to their afterlife, having been freed of the curse. Lessons are learned, and Norman reunites with his family, who now accept him for who he is, more or less, and they enjoy TV with the ghost of his grandma.
Just super touching.
It's a good ending. It's a very solid ending. 10 out of 10 for landing. Good work. So Ryan, before we get to questions, what do you think now at the end of all that?
I mean, goodness, it was really hard hitting the first time I saw it because I wasn't expecting it to go as dark as it did. And you know, uh, childhood bullying is can be a serious issue.
Mm-hmm.
And kids, as lovable as they are, can be cruel as fuck when they're young. So, I mean, we've all had similar moments of despair like Norman. Maybe not as dark, but definitely similar along those lines. And I think they did a good job of really highlighting the issues that he was going through without making it too ridiculously cartoonish. Like, it was really dark and really sad, but you could absolutely see it. I felt like it really rang true, and since it kept that truth at the heart of the story, I think that's what really makes the whole thing work.
I agree. I really admire the various like shades, the various flavors it's got going on. It's got the kids animation, it's got the horror aesthetic, but in a comedy sense. It's got dark, morbid stuff alongside like bright, colorful, like just style. Mm-hmm. And then, like you said, it hits on some very deep subject matter, but it doesn't like dwell on it. It brings it up, addresses it very quickly, and moves on to the next thing. And it all kind of intertwines into the final like scenes and everything. Like Norman's story very much mirrors the story of the witch in a lot of ways, and the fact that everything kind of intertwines and comes full circle by the end, it really shows that they put a lot of craft and care into this movie, which is hard to say for a lot of other films out there. So.
Yeah, no, I think it really does a great job of kind of balancing on that fine line. You know, like it addresses it, but it doesn't like dwell in it. It doesn't like, it doesn't get mired in that deep and like horribleness. Like it touches it, it knows it's there, it addresses it, and it addresses how to move past it.
Mm-hmm.
So I really love it, and I loved seeing the parallels between Norman and the ghost, because you could tell Norman was headed down like some dark stuff, even though you could absolutely sympathize with where he was coming from and his desire to be alone. When you saw Aggie at the very end, and it was just what becomes of her from that same feeling, it's good shit, guys. It's real good.
I'm not sure where to really start from here. We have a lot of good questions to cover, and we kind of touched a little bit on all of them in that first opening bit, but...
yeah, I'm sorry. I just... everything about this shit it's just a great story. You can start at the beginning. We'll touch on all of this again, but yeah, it's just...
Absolutely.
I love this shit. It's good.
Alright, first things first, the animation. So, stop-motion animation, and we've touched that on once before with Nightmare Before Christmas last year. Good podcast, go check it out. Link in description, maybe, if I remember. But how does it hold up here? Does it work? Does it serve the story? Do you think it could have been told in a different medium, but in a better way? What do you think, Ryan?
I think it was really, really well done. I personally enjoyed it. But I think the standout moment for me was seeing Aggie go full go full like poltergeist. Like, I thought that was really well done. And I'm not an amazing like connoisseur of stop motion animation. You know, I don't seek it out, but that particular model seems bonkers difficult to do. So, holy shit, because it looked really, really good. I'm still not sure how they would have done it, but god damn it, they pulled it off.
Yeah, I've seen stop motion behind the scenes stuff before, and it just baffles me how much effort goes into it. Like, so I was in a film class in college, once, and one of the projects was to make a final film for the class, which is fine. I did a goofy video game parody, which is actually on the YouTube channel if you want to go check it out. But another guy in the class did a stop motion kind of race war thing, but instead of using like people or characters, he used bottles of milk, and the different flavors of milk represented different races of people, essentially. Not like one-to-one, but like they were supposed to be stand-ins for, like, hey, these are minorities, and this is the structure they have to deal with and everything. And it was a very interesting piece, but just the level of like detail he had to go through to make that animation style work for just milk jugs is pretty hilarious.
Golly.
And it's very fucking ambitious, too.
it reminds me of a shouts out to all my guys who watch Parks and Rec out there with me. But during one of the later seasons, one of the later episodes, Ben Wyatt, who's like kind of in between jobs at the moment, he's kind of fighting depression by like just doing like ridiculous stuff at his house, and his friend comes to check on him, and he says, "I want to show you. Like, I haven't been sitting here wasting time. I've been working on a stop motion animation project. I'm really, really proud of it. I want you to see it." And he starts playing it. It has a couple of seconds of like a title, and then it shows him as a clay motion person sitting on a bed. He gets up, he turns, and then it ends. And he's like, "Wait, hold on. Let me try that again." And they run it again, and the whole thing is like 4 seconds. And he says, "No, oh my god, that was it. I've been doing this for 2 weeks. Oh my god. I really thought that was good. How can there only be 4 seconds?" So the stop motion is real hard, guys. But when it is done well, it's so rewarding.
And what's amazing too is, for as good as this is, Kubo and the Two Strings blows everything else out of the water in terms of stop motion.
Seriously,
it really does.
Like, I'm having a hard time believing that the same people that did Paranorman did Kubo and the Two Strings, because I love Paranorman. I think it's amazing, but Kubo was ridiculous, and I have no idea. It's like they leveled up 5 times before doing Kubo and the Two Strings, because it's that much of a jump.
And not to get off topic, but it's because there's so many like little things that get animated in massive swarms, and you're just wondering how they managed to keep track of every little thing on top of the characters while still making it all look good and getting it done in a timely manner. Like, we'll have to do that movie again. We'll have to do that movie at some point too, because it's too good not to do.
Yeah, guys, if you want to give us a reason to have to watch Kubo and the Two Strings, or if you want to see, like, I don't know, a stop motion animation series, leave your likes in the comments below. Let us know if that's what you want. I'm sure we can pull Aaron into doing something like that. Come on, guys.
I'm just trying to think of what we do. We've hit the 2 biggest ones outside of Kubo. I'm trying to think what's left. I know there's Coraline, there's Corpse Bride, there's Kubo. What else is there?
I actually haven't seen Corpse Bride.
I have seen it, but it's been such a long time. I don't remember anything other than Johnny Depp's in it. There's Box Trolls that came out somewhat recently, and then there's the newest one that came out. I don't remember what it's called. Missing Link or something like that?
We could also check out some Clover and Gromit. Am I saying that?
Oh, yeah. Those are some stop-motion things, too, aren't they?
Chicken Run. Yeah, there's a bunch of things we can do, guys.
Yeah, there's more than I thought.
Like, hit us up in the comments, please. We'll do this if you say it.
Isle of Dogs, that's a good one.
Oh yes, Isle of Dogs. I wanted to see that. Oh,
we saw it a few months ago. It's pretty dang good. The voice work is solid all around. Yeah,
they've got some A-listers for that one.
They got the Cran Man. They've got the Goldblum. They've got Defoe. Anyone with Defoe, Cranston, and or Jeff Goldblum, I'm there.
Yeah, like one of those names would have had me there. But damn.
Way off topic. Let's go on to the next thing. How does Speaking with the Dead play to the narrative of this film in ways that it does not in Sixth Sense? And do either of these films miss something that could have been done with this ability? Deep question, but I mean, both these films do have that thing in common. It's a pretty big fucking plot point for both of them.
I mean, I think the subject matter in this one, like, as weird as it is not as weird as the sentence is. The subject matter that's addressed in Paranorman is not as traumatic as the stuff addressed in Sixth Sense. Mm-hmm. And I think because, there's a lot more violence in Sixth Sense, just like kind of the aftermath of violence and whatnot. But I feel like Paranorman keeps it for kids by keeping the issues that keeping the focus on issues that kids can relate to. Namely, the feeling of isolation, of like being stuck in really bad moments and forgetting the danger of forgetting the good moments and like kind of isolating yourself. That's definitely something that all young people can really address and really like empathize with. They can really place themselves in that situation. Whereas you're talking about people who have unfinished business, who had, who you're talking about like young girls who were killed by their parents, and like their ghost is sticking around trying to get somebody to notice that, or you know. Psychologists who feel like they failed their final patient because they came over and killed them. That's definitely more adult subject matter. Mm-hmm. And since it focuses on those, I would say that's the difference between the two. I don't think they necessarily missed anything because they were speaking to different audiences. And I think the messages for those audiences were as completely packaged as I feel they could have been. How do you feel about that?
I think you hit the nail on the head pretty hard on all accounts. I would say that there's a sense of like joy and optimism that this film hits a bit harder than the other one. I think the Sixth Sense, considering it's more geared towards a horror thriller kind of film, and considering it is more focused on a more adult-themed message, or its audience is more towards adults. It's interesting that they... it's just interesting that one definitely is coming out with a far more positive message, whereas Sixth Sense, not that it doesn't have any positive bits in there, by any means, but I definitely think it ends on a much more somber, if not bittersweet note, whereas this one, Paranorman, aims to just constantly be more uplifting by the end. Mm-hmm. And I think that I think that watching either one can definitely shift your mood one way or the other. And I think as someone like me who tries to be more positive on the average, I think Paranorman definitely rings better with me than Sixth Sense. Not that either's bad, just that I know that one's going to put me in that more uplifting mood than the other.
Yeah, no, I think Paranorman is definitely the more uplifting of the two, but I do feel that that Sixth Sense goes a little bit deeper than Paranorman, which maybe. Yeah.
I think they go deeper in different directions. Like you said, Sixth Sense gets a little bit more morbid, and it focuses on the more realistic brutality of the afterlife and how it can affect them, whereas this one, it kind of skirts that bit a little bit more, and focuses more on what the kid goes through in his day-to-day that isn't directly with the undead. And that's an interesting angle to take, too. I almost want to see a combined effort of the two ideals, but I feel like you need more time for that. I'm not sure how you'd pull it off.
Yeah, it would definitely be interesting. I just feel like the resolution that Sixth Sense comes to, I feel like it's... Damn, uplifting is not the right word. I feel like it's uplifting, but in a mature way. You know, it's not uplifting in the sense that, oh, everything's going to be okay and everything's going to be hunky-dory, but rather in acceptance and a like he finally gets to say goodbye to his wife, like once he's like come to accept the fact that he died, and you actually get a really like adult, mature, healthy separation at the end of that movie. So I like it's uplifting for me, but it's not like happy joy uplifting.
Fair enough,
it's more just like a more adult, like bittersweet almost resolution. Still, it's good. It's really, really good. We like both of these movies very much, guys, if you couldn't tell.
If you want to see our Sixth Sense podcast, we'll try to link that down below, too. Or you can just go to the channel. It's somewhere on there. It's good stuff.
Please. Hell, you, like, in searching for it, you might see something else that you want to watch.
Yeah, I got a whole bunch of stuff in this channel worth checking out. Actually, that was from earlier this year, too. We've gone full circle. It's ridiculous. Speaking of... bittersweet moments. Let's talk about the bullying in this movie, and specifically, Ryan, did you ever encounter bullying in high school? And if so, what was it for, and how did you handle it?
Man.
Cutting deep right there. Cutting deep.
Well, So I will say that I was fortunate not to deal with a copious amount of bullying when I was in school in general, grade school or high school. I wasn't bullied at all really in high school. Um, I was bullied towards the beginning of grade school, and there were two trains of thought. One that I tried and it didn't really work out. The other worked out pretty well. The first one was a bit of advice from my dad, which said that when people are laughing, laugh with them, and like that it was kind of incomplete advice, but it taught me to be a little more social and to actually like kind of roll with the good time. So instead of being made fun of, I was more just having fun with the entirety of the group. I showed that I could take a joke and that I could like kind of keep it spinning. So it made me actually a more social person just kind of by accident, which was really nice. The second way was actually the one I first tried. I would say it worked for that one person, but it's definitely not the healthy option. And I'm going to preface the story by saying I absolutely do not condone what I did. It's something that I thought about doing and I did it, and I'm like, oh, I shouldn't have done that. I'm so sorry. Long story short, there was one kid in first grade who kept making fun of me and was just a genuine asshole. And I was taking karate at the time. And one morning I was walking past him and he was leaning on a gate, and I kicked him in the side of the knee and almost broke his thumb.
Jesus. That was unprovoked?
Yes, it was unprovoked.
And that was a bad call.
I felt super bad at the end of it. Once again, I 100% do not condone this. This is absolutely the wrong move, but I was just thinking about all the bullshit that he was putting me through in my early years, and he was just leaning against the gate, and I cocked my leg back and kicked him in the side of the knee, and he went down quick.
Now,
he was crying, and I was like, instantly, oh my God, are you okay? I'm so sorry. Oh no. Oh God, I should never do this. I'm never doing this again. So I learned my lesson quickly.
Now, addendum, if they are known to be a Nazi, then yes, go ahead and kick him in the knee.
Oh yeah, we punch Nazis around here. No, that's fine. That's fine. Yeah, just like kick them in the knee. Like they go down quick. I know from experience. But
I'm looking forward to having one of them say at some point, well, I used to be a Nazi, but then I took an arrow to the, I took a foot to the knee. Learned my lesson there.
Yeah, the guy who kicked me in the knee was actually really apologetic, and I was just like, you know what? Maybe we're not so different. I don't like being kicked in the knee. You don't like kicking me in the knee. Let's find some common ground here.
Listen. A message.
How I converted him.
A message to all possible Nazis out there, and I don't want to say this word too many more times. That's the last time I try to say it. The message to all y'all out there: I get y'all hate people because they're different from you. I don't agree with it, but I understand that's the logic there. But let me remind you something. Tear away that different colored flesh, and underneath all of us is a skeleton. We all have skeletons, and we're all made equal because of said skeletons. So don't judge people, because we all got skeletons in the closet, including you, Mr. Neo, you-know-what. So, respect the skeletons. Moving on.
Spooky, scary skeletons.
But no joke. I also was bullied in school. There was one incident in like elementary school where it was a one-off thing, but it was not anything beyond that until high school. And I don't remember what caused it exactly. I know I was made fun of every now and then for my fashion sense, i.e. lack thereof. So, I let that roll off because I didn't care. I was just kind of there to do my shit and leave, so... but there was one individual who I will not name. Let's just call him Matt S. for short. Which is funny because I actually know a Matt S. in real life who is not the same Matt S. by any stretch of the imagination. If you are listening to this, sir, I'm not talking about you. We never went to school, obviously, together, so you can just pretend I'm not talking about you. Anyway, so this gentleman, we had homeroom together. We were locker partners, actually, to start with. And I noticed my stuff was missing from my locker one day. I had a denim jacket that went missing. I had some school books that went missing. And I'm like, why is all my shit disappearing? It made sense that it was him because no one else could have done it. And I think I saw him or his friend one day with the same denim jacket I had at one point. So I'm like, okay, I'm going to just fucking get out of this situation. Got myself my own locker. And from that point on, he decided to be a little bit more aggressive about the whole thing. To the point where, and I'm going to say words that some people might find offensive, but obviously I'm not going to, there were in reference to what he called me, obviously. But there'd be times when he'd go around, insinuating I was gay. He would call me a faggot. And I'm like, why exactly? Because, Ryan, you know me personally. Obviously, I'm straight. And this kid has no idea who I even was. He was just trying to throw dirt on me for no reason at all. Mm-hmm. But the crux of this came to a point where he and his buddy pulled the fire alarm probably like 10 to 15 feet away from us. On the same walking path my buddy Ben and I would walk down. And I think he was trying to set us up to be the fall guys for that. But we saw him clearly. And the teacher who was in that same hallway, who had a room just off that, saw us in the hallway and asked about it. And I'm like, no, that wasn't us. That was those assholes who walked in front of us. And I ended up having to go to the vice principal to explain the whole situation. I'm pretty sure he got suspended for a good chunk of time because of that shit.
Good.
Which did not endear him well to me when he came back.
Fair.
And the bullying continued throughout high school, but it became less of an issue as, I guess it started in middle school, but it continued into high school. It became less of an issue as we had separate schedules and were kind of drifting apart in terms of, where we were. Because eventually I did, extracurriculars that took me off campus during the school day, so, But for a good chunk of time, he would, find me in the hallways. When he did, he'd slam into me, trying to knock shit on my arms and stuff. So I eventually learned how to avoid those pathways. I'm like, I don't have time to deal with your bullshit. I have shit to do. So that's a long story there. But yeah, I dealt with that asshole for a good chunk of time.
I'm sorry. But it made you into the man you are today. And I like that guy. He's pretty damn cool.
Yep, turned me into the silly asshead I am today. But yeah, I guess the message to learn here, kids, for those who are listening, is that bullying's a temporary thing, and while you will always encounter people who will try to lord their power over you, whatever semblance of power they think they have, it's short term. They'll either grow up and mature, or you'll move on and find better places to be. So don't let them get you down, and worst case scenario, just, fight back. Not necessarily fisticuffs, but just show them up at something, I don't know what. Maybe throw down the card game with them. I don't care. Fucking throw your blue eyes at them.
You hit him with that. You've activated my trap card.
Oh, shit.
Got him.
Oh, shit, can't handle that shit.
He's done. He's done.
No, my blue eyes. Okay, moving on from this oddly specific commercial product here. Does it feel odd that the town celebrates their dark past and over-commercializes it the way they do? Why or why not?
After seeing the whole town go hog wild on these zombies on a fucking dime, I'm not as surprised.
But you have to admit, though, it's kind of weird that
it's definitely weird. It's definitely weird, but it's kind of like small town weird. It's like we have one thing to our collective name, and god damn it, we're gonna be proud of that. And I felt that kind of resonated with me. I obviously grew up in a not small town, in the antithesis of a small town, you might say, a global city. But for the small towns that I visited, you can see they derive a sense of community from that shared piece of history. So I can see them kind of clinging to it because they were so small. It made sense to me.
That's fair. That's fair. I just find it very interesting that this town chooses to celebrate the dark history of, oh hey, we killed witches here, in their modern day celebrations, and I'm just sitting here this kind of reminds me of those people who want to celebrate teams like the Redskins and whatnot, and how oh hey, this is tradition, this is history, we got to keep it. Yeah, but there are probably some people who are very uncomfortable with this idea.
Yeah. Now keep in mind though, like so there's a difference here though because they're like, oh well, our forefathers slayed witches and they had this cartoon this like cartoon version of like the nasty old green witch with the warts and all that stuff who is just like, oh, I'm gonna steal your kids at night and make them into a stew, like that kind of witch. And it's really easy to kind of otherize that because witches don't, like, at least to normal people, witches don't really exist in real life.
No.
Now, but nobody knew that the reality of the situation was that they put a little kid to death because she said she spoke to ghosts.
No, but
they were like, fuck that.
I'm speaking more to the history, though, of the Salem witch trials in general, because, I mean, obviously this is taking inspiration from that part of our dark history, and I know that actually in the Boston area they do celebrate, not necessarily the witch trials themselves, they do celebrate the whole occult, dark history stuff in that general area, because the critic I follow has talked about how much play that got for him in this because he is from that area. And it's just the idea that you're celebrating the history of, you know, these people who are tried and burned for literally no reason, because of people being fearful of just unexplainable things or being lied to and just believing it. It just kind of puts a strange spin on everything. And I mean, I'm looking too deep into this for a kids movie, but like I can't ignore it because it's just something I'm kind of equally fascinated by.
I feel you on that. No, I do. I feel like the collective ignorance of the town is like it's a way to put a spotlight, like a magnifying glass, on the ignorance of the people in the witch trials.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like they were doing something dumb because they were scared of it and they didn't understand it, and that ignorance is carried down and blown up by its descendants because they didn't learn better. You can, I would hope. I haven't been to these places, so I can't speak to it directly. But I would hope that people in and around the Salem area nowadays are more enlightened to come to realize the fact that innocent people were killed because they thought they were doing spooky shit. And they wouldn't necessarily celebrate that, but recognize the ignorance of their forefathers and kind of be better about it. Mm-hmm. But for this particular movie, and the parallel that it's trying to draw and the message that it's trying to convey, it makes sense that this cartoon-ass small town would be so unenlightened.
That's fair. I actually like how you sum that up. I got two quick ones here, and we can get on to another deep one here. Did any supporting characters stand out to you, and if so, which one and why?
It's gotta be my boy Neil. Oh man.
Yeah.
It's gotta be my boy Neil.
Yeah.
My son. He's so cool. No, I loved how he captured this kind of boundless energy and joy, but he also was like the best friend that Norman could have asked for. He's just like Norman's like, no offense, but I just really like to be alone. And Neil's like, I like to be alone too. Let's do it together. I'm like, oh my God, my kid, he's so good. Please. Like he refused, like he wanted to be Norman's friend and he saw that Norman needed a friend. And he's like, nope, I am going to be your friend. I like you. You are cool. You are interesting. I am going to be your friend. Boom. And instantly he rose above the level of friends that a lot of kids find. Like, if you find yourself a ride or die like Neil, oh my God, hold on to him. That's a lifelong friend that you just found at fucking 10 years old. Keep that.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's got to be Neil for me.
I can't disagree. Like I said during the synopsis, when we were watching the movie, I turned to Amanda, I'm like, that's going to be like our kid, isn't it? And she's like, God damn it, yeah. But no, like, there's just a lot of, like, things that you can relate to with this kid, and just the experience these two kids have, even beyond the supernatural stuff, because, like, it's just a very pure, innocent friendship, and it's built on just this whole, you know, shared bullying, shared experience, but they both want to overcome it, and his method is just to, hey, let's get over it and just have some fun stuff go down. And it kind of helps push Norman out of his little, I guess, corner and into a more socially acceptable way to go.
Yeah, I mean, you can see how Norman internalized the message that Neil got from the very beginning and used that to save Aggie.
Mhm.
Because you just hit the nail on the head. Neil was also bullied and like kind of stigmatized and just kind of isolated. But he chose not to focus on the horrible shit, but rather find the good things and focus on those. So as soon as he saw Norman and he was like, hey, you're actually really cool and very interesting, I'm going to focus on this because this will be good, rather than focus on the fact that Alvin keeps punching me in my boobs or anything like that. He's going to focus on the good things and really exemplify that. And it takes Norman the whole course of the movie to really get that and then apply it to save the ghost.
Mm-hmm.
So, but it's really nice that Norman has that. It's really nice that Neil has that mindset at the very beginning, but it's just a central part of him. So he couldn't like explain it. He couldn't like actually piece it out and logic it and put it together for Norman in a packaged bow. He just had it because that's the kind of person that Neil is. God, I love this kid.
Mm-hmm. All right, next question here. Let's see, it's supporting character 1, so moving down. Okay. I get the lack of clarity in his information was for the conflict to happen. That's just how filmmaking goes. But why what in-universe reason could there be for the uncle's lack of details to Norman about the whole curse?
Well, remember that the uncle was like also ostracized not only by the town but by his family, and you heard Norman's parents talking about like it's not like your crazy brother isn't like around, like hasn't been getting to him, has he? And so it's like his parents were actively keeping his uncle away from him, and his uncle was crazy as shit.
Fair.
Also you could see just in the way he was living that he also kind of went into that unhealthy place of just idolizing isolation. You know, he wasn't making an effort to actually like have other people to like be around and like kind of socialize. He was just like, you know what, fuck it. If I'm gonna be seen as the crazy guy that talks to ghosts and is bearded, then fuck it, I'll just make it work. And so he did that, and he went full ham into it, and he wasn't really taking care of himself. But when it came time for him to actually pass on that knowledge in a socially acceptable way, he couldn't because he had not built that pathway. So, conflict.
Very fair. Very fair. Next question, we're going to get deep again here. Do you sympathize with the cursed townspeople? Why or why not?
Absolutely not. That's not even that hard of a question. Like I see where they came from. I see like the fear of the unknown is a really powerful thing. It really is. Mm-hmm. And back in the day, we didn't know shit. Like we thought like there's nothing worse. In my personal opinion, there is nothing worse than feeling like you know everything and then coming across something that you have no idea what the fuck it is. Because it completely shapes your worldview and just scares the fuck out of you. Like, it's the people that know that there is more to learn that are more equipped to handle the unexpected. And I feel like, especially in like old Puritan societies where like we're ruled by the church and they know everything, and the settlers and what have you, like they saw something that didn't fit with their worldview and was instantly like, nope, that's obviously the work of the devil. So we're gonna nip that in the bud right the fuck now, because there's no way we need to learn anything new. That's just bad, and we'll just strike it down with the force of God. So I see where they're coming from, but I definitely don't. I don't empathize with it. I don't sympathize with it. Like, I see where they're coming from, but I don't agree with it at all.
I understand. I sympathize to an extent, because I think you're right that the fear of the unknown is a big deal, and it makes people do horrible things. And I think we can all agree that all of us have probably done something questionable because we didn't understand or didn't know the full story, and acted arguably irrationally.
Death.
I think I sympathize with the fact that, I guess here's where my limit is. If these people who were cursed, and I guess in real life too, if the Puritans of the day, if any of them, now I guess not necessarily became woke, but understood the inherent wrongness of what they did, I sympathize with them if they received punishment for what ended up happening. Because if you learn from what happened and are willing to make up for it, I think you deserve a chance to be able to make up for it. But for anyone who willingly stuck to the illogical, witchcraft nonsense and doubled down on it and was pushing as hard as he could for more murder, I look into the history. There's people who pushed super hard to keep it going.
Definitely.
Those are the ones I can't feel sorry for because they refuse to learn, they refuse to grow, and I think that is where my limit is on the sympathy there.
You know what? I really, really like that because my answer was based on the settlers of old and not the zombies who had come back after fucking hundreds of years of being resurrected and said, "Look, man, we fucked up. We were scared. We were legitimately scared for our lives, and we did something really unforgivable and really dumb. And oh my God, we need help to fix it." Those guys, I will empathize with. Those guys I can feel for because, like you said, they made their mistake, but then they acknowledged it and they wanted to work to make it better. Mm-hmm. So yes, you actually said it perfectly. Kudos, sir.
Thank you. And if there's any other individuals out there who want to acknowledge the mistakes they're making, Trump, and want to apologize for those, we may listen. But it has to be a genuine apology, and it has to be before the whole country burns down. So hop to it.
Man, running out of
time. Similar question. How about Aggie? Do you sympathize with her, and then why or why not? I think the answer's pretty clear here.
Yeah. I mean, it's definitely more slanted towards sympathy with her because she was the wronged party, and then she responded to that wrongness with, understandably from a place of hurt and anger. It doesn't make what she did right, but it's definitely understandable. You can definitely empathize and sympathize with it. And again, the same rule applies. Norman was able to get through to her and say, so people did horrible things to you. Does that excuse you doing horrible things to them? It makes you as bad as them. Arguably, it makes you worse because you know how shitty it is and you're turning around and doing it to people. And, man, they tackled some deep shit in that last scene. They tackled some real deep stuff.
I think it's interesting. The movies we're talking about this week, the end scene of this film is probably the highlight, and the beginning scene of the next film is also the highlight, and it's just kind of interesting how they play off one another like that.
Oh yeah. No, I mean we've definitely got a very interesting kind of juxtaposition for the movies this week. Mm-hmm. But yes, no, I definitely empathize with her. I definitely sympathize with her, and the people who passed judgment on her in the past, she was able to see the error of her ways and work to make it right. And that's where the redemption comes in. Mm-hmm. The acknowledgement of wrongdoings and the working towards making it right.
I think we hit I said it a lot. I think we got that one wrapped up pretty good. So I guess we already kind of covered the ultimate lesson to take away from this film. So we can move on to the last question here, which is, would you want to see a return to the world of Paranorman? Considering that there are so many, people who have died, and there's so many stories involved, and there's no, finality to the story here, there's no, and, so-and-so died, or, I don't know. I feel like the door is open for it. I'm not saying I have to see it, but I'm not going to turn it down if it happens.
I mean, I would love to see these characters again. Obviously, I would they're fantastic characters. I love them dearly. What I would say though, is that if it's gonna be a sequel, it has to take place somewhere else. It has to be like Norman goes to college or some shit.
Ooh, what if Norman travels to like like an Indian burial ground or something?
You know, like if Norman becomes like the paranormal investigator, like or the medium that goes to people's houses and is like, look, I'm gonna help you out because I can actually like there was no like, does his power work or not? It was just like, nope, there are ghosts. I see them. I talk to them, and we fucking get to the bottom of it. And so if we were going to do something, I would say it has to be somewhere else because the central thesis around the town in general, like it was all built around, hey, we kill witches. And he just put the witch to rest.
Yeah.
So I feel like there's not a whole bunch more to do in the town per se. I would love to see characters of that town make a reappearance. But if they were to do a sequel, it would have to be somewhere else, I would say. Otherwise, I'd be down for it.
Man,
an adult Paranorman? Shit.
Man, him and Neil formed the paranormal investigation team. That you got me with that. I'm in. All in. All in.
100%. Like, if you're a kid who can speak to ghosts, I feel like there's no other thing that you do. Like, well, nope, that's obviously what I'm doing with my life. I'm going and putting the spirits of this world to rest.
Well, I mean,
all right.
I mean, it'd be like if your name was like Dick Chop. I mean, obviously you're going to be the guy who does vasectomies. Then clearly,
no. Obviously, you're gonna go by Richard or Rich, and then I mean, why would you ever go to a doctor named Dr. Chop? Excuse me.
I would so do that. That'd be great.
Oh my god, it's horrible.
All right, so before we finish up and wrap up with our review, quick reminder, we have a mailbag. You can always reach out to us via Tumblr, Twitter, or Facebook. Tell us what creative names you would name your child who would have a special job. Or what you want to see for Paranorman 2. Supernatural investigations. Let us know in the comments below, or on our various social media platforms, or directly to us at our email. Ryan, what is that email?
That email is freeze framing mom's aerobic videos. Excuse me. That's evacstation@gmail.com.
There's nothing more human than that, I think. And I think that Neil is a little bit of all of us, if we're being honest.
Yeah, he really is. I mean, no comments. End the podcast.
No comments. Let's review this film. So this season we're doing the usual with Halloween stuff. Bucket or fuck it, as in like bucket of blood, it's good, or fuck it, it's a bad film. We talk a lot of sugar. I feel like we're both on the same page here, Ryan. What do you say?
Yeah, well, this is obviously a shitty film. I mean, why would anybody fucking... No, God, it goes in the bucket of blood. It's not because it's ridiculously terrifying or horrifying, although there are parts of it that are genuinely disturbing, but it's because it uses those disturbing moments to really tell a great truth about the human condition. Mm-hmm. And so I definitely recommend this to anybody who wants to take the time and watch it. It's definitely got a great message. It's got some spooky parts in it. It'll make you laugh, it'll make you cry, and you'll walk away feeling like a better person at the end of it.
Hey, Leica Studios. Pixar got 4 movies out of Toy Story and 3 movies out of Cars and some spin-offs. I think you're good for a second one of these. I think you are.
Why there's a Toy Story 4, I will never know.
I've heard it's really good. I have yet to see it, but like, still, you got 4 movies out of that concept. Paranorman could at least get 2.
You know what? I'm gonna let that go because you're gonna get me on my Toy Story 4 rant. We gotta end this podcast. Why the fuck did they end? Nope. Close us out, please.
Thank you for listening this week, and tune in next week when we'll be watching 28 Days Later, which for you will come out 7 days from now. Thank you, and see you after the credits.
Bye.
Guess we'll table this for now. I'm glad to see you take constructive criticism well. Thank you for your time. I know we're all busy as hell. And we'll put this thing to bed when I bash your head open. All we wanna do is eat your brains. We're not unreasonable. I mean, no one's gonna eat your eyes. never mind.